Hey neighbor, welcome back. I I don't know. I don't know at this point. I I can see how the Lord could get mad at his creation and feel like, why did I create these humans? Like he said that in his word. And when I read it, I'm just like, dang, like what they do to make him that mad to feel that way? And then it's just like, how much do he love us that he keep turning things around and try to show how much he love us? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to tell y'all. But I do know that a lot of what's going on is fake. And I don't know how to process that, because we're still living here. We're still going through day to day, and it's fake. Like, how is it fake and real at the same time? Like, it don't make sense. But here we are. So last week I was in situations that I don't know if I was supposed to reflect for myself in them situations, or if they was just there for the entertainment of this fakeness. Like, I don't even want to put it out there like that. I don't even want to talk to y'all like that. But, bro, stuff just be mind-blowing to me. So I feel like situations was created just to see what the response would be. And I noticed myself in one of the situations, I responded off of a projection. So one time I was speaking to somebody and they just automatically was like, you're, he was like, you're being passive aggressive towards me. And I really wasn't in the situation. Like, I really was just telling him something like as simple as, you have this to do on this date. And he just automatically pushed out like, oh, you're passive aggressive. You're being passive aggressive with me right now. And in the time, it didn't make sense, because I'm just like, what is he talking about? Like, okay, whatever. But then when I was in the situation and it took place and I responded the way I responded, when I guess the reflection point came back, I was just like, yeah, I could see how I was being passive aggressive in that situation. When honestly, I wasn't being passive aggressive. I was extending a right that I had that to others may have seemed like I was going against authority, when that wasn't even the case, because the situation was very vague. Like, it was so vague to the point in my mind, I took it as something that was optional. So when the reflection came around asking like, what was my thought process in that whole situation, I let that man's projection come out in that situation. I was just like, yeah, I can see how I was in the situation. I've learned that I can be passive aggressive, and maybe that's something I need to fix. And it was just like, in the time before, where the guy was low-key gaslighting me, and in that situation there, which still was kind of a gaslighting, I wasn't being passive aggressive. I was genuinely doing something that I would normally do on my day-to-day basis. And it's just like, in that situations, I've learned that I need to just stand for what I stand for and don't take on other people's projections trying to make it seem like just because I made a decision to do a certain thing that it is consider what others may think that I'm trying to be in those situations when it's not. Because in all honesty, like I told him, if we were in any other situation where I was given the option, I would have did the same thing. Like, to me, this was so vague that it didn't seem like it was mandatory, nor did it say anywhere that it was mandatory, except for on platforms that are still optional to watch. So that's why I say a lot of stuff is fake, and it's really odd trying to be yourself in situations that are manufactured. Like, that's the best way I could put it. But I don't be trying to cause no issues or step on nobody's toes or make it seem like I'm just trying to go against authority when that's not the case at all. So I don't know why. I know why. So all of this put me in the mindset of, like, the Bible saying that the end day is going to be like the days of Noah, and how wickedness is just going to be more and more wicked. And I was like, well, okay, well, what was the day of Noah like if it's going to be like the days of Noah? So I went back and I tried to read what it was like in Noah's time in the Bible, right? And that didn't really say anything either. Like, I read the NIV Bible, so just depending on which Bibles you read, the interpretations can be a little different because they're worded differently. But from what I read, it was vague. Like, it didn't really talk about the days of Noah. It just said it was wicked. God told Noah to do this. They was in the boat, ark. They stayed in the ark until the water seceded, and then God let them out the boat. And I'm just like, that didn't really say anything. Like, what were the days of Noah like for us to be able to compare what the days of Noah was like, to understand that the end times is like the days of Noah? So it made me think how a lot of people say a lot of the texts are taken out of the Bible because they don't want us to know what things were like, so we won't be in expectation to know what things are like. And when I was reading it, I was like, okay, I took that into consideration. Like, maybe it is removed, because if you read other books or if you listen to other things that are pertaining to the Bible, there's a text out there that says it's the book of Enoch. So I've listened to the book of Enoch before, but I haven't read the book of Enoch. But if you listen to, or if you read the Bible, it has references towards it. So it's just like, it's possible that it could have been taken out, because there's other parts of the Bible that are taken out that are actually very important. But anyway, so I'm reading it, and things that kind of stood out to me was God reiterating that he made mankind in his own image, and how he wanted us to be fruitful and multiply. And so I went back and I read Genesis, and Genesis 1:27 pretty much said the same thing. It was saying that God created mankind in his own image. And what was a little, I don't want to say it was strange, but he reiterated that in Noah's time. Like, he destroyed the earth, but when he replenished it, he allowed Noah to Noah's family to replenish the earth. And in the text, it said that Noah made children in his image. So it was just like why you word it that way? Like, what made you want to make that a point to stick out with, right? I'm gonna read it. So it says, this is Genesis 5, verse 1. I wrote down 1 through 3, so I'm gonna just read the whole thing. It says, this is the written account of Adam's family line. When God created mankind, he made them in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them, and he named them mankind when they were created. When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth. And I'm going to go back to Genesis 1 and 27. It says, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. So I looked up the word mankind, and it kind of said the same thing. Some of it said like, I didn't write it down, so I can't read it verbatim. But it said like, some said human, others just said like, I don't want to use the wrong word, but it was basically trying to say male and female. And I'm just like, why is that a distinction? Like, why is it so important to let it be known that we're made in his likeness? Like, why is his image so projected to stand out and be known that, like, these are my people, they're made like me? Like, it just made me think of how God is still trying to show like that distinction between who's his and who's trying to mimic him or be like him. And like this whole week, it's just been like watching people mock God. And even though it irritates me seeing it happen, it's just like in my mind, all I can think about is that has nothing to do with me. Like, the Lord told me to seek his kingdom. Me seeking his kingdom is me doing something within myself to work towards being like him, to get the things of him that he's created for me through him. Or when I see love your God with all your heart, I can only love my God with all my heart. Like, you can't love my God with all my heart for me. Like, I have to do that for myself. So it's like, even though I see other people mocking it, it's irritating, but it still has nothing to do with me per se. Like, that's something that they have to take up with God themselves. Like, in my walk, in my day-to-day, even though God may place me in situations where there's other factors into my walk to purify or refine who I am in him, it's just like, even though those outside factors might be there, they have nothing to do with my decision making, with what God is trying to do to make me like him. So it's just like, yeah, that's irritating to happen, but I'm still going to continue trying to do what God wants me to do while he has me here, because all I see is fakeness in the first place. So clearly, if they taking a mockery, is because they don't see the realness of him. If I'm walking in what I believe is the realness of him, like, what I'm seeing them doing to me is fake. So it's like, it shouldn't even matter, because I'm still trying to get to what he wants for me. Like, that whole concept made me think of like how the Bible doesn't say who exactly wrote Ecclesiastes, but from just reading different texts and hearing other people, it says that it could have been King Solomon. And King Solomon basically said everything is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Like, if you see, you can't really see wind, but you can feel wind. You might see wind when you outside breathing and it's cold and you see your air, but you can't grab it. You can't hold it in your hand. Like, it's there, but it's not there. Like, that's how life is. Like, people don't want to believe in God just because they can't see him. They don't feel like they can grasp him. But just because you might not be able to physically grasp him doesn't mean that he's not there. So when these people are mocking him and don't feel like, he's going to be who he is, to me, it's just like that's a them problem. That ain't a me issue. That's something that they got to work through with themselves. And in that process, I have to figure out who God is to me. So that in itself had me thinking about, like, it's a Bible verse, 1 Corinthians 9:24 through 27. That's basically talking about like boxers and how boxers go into training to win a trophy. And when they're boxing, they're not just, as a believer, we're not just beating the air to be beating the air. Like, we're training to win God's crown. Like, we know what we're fighting towards. And it's like these other people just might be out here doing whatever just to fulfill whatever they got to fulfill. But in our sense, there's a purpose towards it. And if it's other people out here that's seeing what I'm seeing and just at the point where they're just like, forget all of this mess because it's just nonsense, it's meaningless, like how King Solomon felt, it's just like, yeah, a lot of that stuff is meaningless. But at the end of the day, we're here because God wanted us to be here to show who he is in this earth while it's wicked still, because it is, like, you can't deny the fact that a lot of this stuff taking place is just outright wickedness. Like, there is people who, I looked up the word power and control, and what they had as a similarity was basically trying to I can't think of what exactly it said, but it said it can't, they want to be the dominating factor in the effects of others. And it's just like, as a person who leaves that to God, to me, it doesn't make sense on why others want to control other people. Like, I leave, it's called surrendering. I surrender a lot of things up to God because to me, that's who leads my life. Like, I don't feel like I have to try to dictate what somebody else is doing in their life, because I would want them to be led by God to show up in his likeness, instead of trying to force somebody to be who I want them to be because I want an outcome. Like, because that's not me, it doesn't make sense to me. And because I release a lot of things to God, I don't try to make it make sense to me because I don't care that much, to be quite honest with you. But it's taking place. It's happening. It's so many people out here that wants to be the top person. There's so many people that wants to show how powerful they are. And it's, to me, just like, it doesn't matter because you're not bigger than God. Like, you'll never be bigger than God. And that's who leads my life. So you lost, friend. Like, it is what it is. And I'm going to just bring it back to my notes because I don't want to go all over the place, because this affects so many areas. And it's just like meaningless. Anyway, so as I was reading Genesis and Noah and how all of that was taken out, what I did notice was, despite all the negativity that was projected, as if, that time was just so evil, what God showed me was the goodness in it. Like, he kept showing how he had one person that he at least one person that he considered faithful. Like, and not to be comparing, but he had Enoch, who was so faithful to the point that he didn't even let him experience death. It said that Enoch was here and then Enoch was no more. So to me, it's just like Elisha and Elijah. Elijah was there, and then God came down and swooped him up to heaven, and he was gone. And it's just like, there's a perfectness and a perception to me that I feel like is like, I want to be in that standing. I want to be so considered faithful to God that he doesn't allow me to taste death. Like, he doesn't allow me to feel what other people perceive as death. And to me, that's like a Enoch, that's like a Elijah, that like those are situations where, like, I want to be in God's standing like that. But then he also showed me a different side where it was Noah. Noah was still considered righteous, but there's depictions and then there's the word. So depictions, people show Noah as a drunk. In the word, God says that Noah set up a vineyard and his sons found him drunk. And when God saved that generation, he saved that generation through Noah because he found Noah faithful or righteous in the standard of what all was taking place in that time. And for how wicked it supposedly was, drunkenness to God was just like, nah, he drinks. Like, like I heard somebody say the other day, there's bad and then there's worse. And he was like, which one would you take, the bad or the worst? Let's go with bad. And it's just like, people want to take so many factors and demonize it, when God is just like, yeah, that's bad, but I got to show my people that I still love them in some sense of the wickedness that's taking place. And it's just like, we out here wanting to be like Enoch. If you like, I gotta slow down because, like I said, it's a lot. And there's so many different areas that, like, I don't want to cause confusion. So you walking with God and you trying to be righteous. You walking in righteousness, wanting to be so perfect that you consider yourself like someone that God just doesn't deem as a bad person. When God is taking people who, if you look from a worldly standpoint, they still look at you as bad, or from let's say a religious standpoint, they're still looking at you as bad. And God's just like, all y'all wicked. Like, I really wish I didn't make none of y'all, but he's still righteous in my eyes. And it's just like, Solomon has so much understanding to understand that, like, your thought process and thinking of who God is meaningless. Like, you chasing after this wind, which is a holy spiritual wind, which actually matters. And these people chasing after these winds, thinking that it's just air moving. And it's like, Back to my notes. So I was reading Genesis 9, and it says, Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. So in that passage, God blessed Noah and told him to be fruitful. And that was all because God made a promise to himself, just a passage above, which is Genesis 8:21. It says, this was after Noah made a sacrifice to him after getting off the ark, and they basically in this new land, right? So God smells the aroma. I'm going to start reading here. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood, and never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. God made a promise to himself in that situation I ain't even gonna say it's based off of Noah making a sacrifice to him after he just basically sacrificed the whole earth for himself because he was upset. But after making that promise to himself, Noah turned around and curses his son's son. So Noah was laid out drunk. His son Ham saw him laid out drunk, went and told his brothers that his dad was laid out drunk in the cave. And when Noah got sober, he started thinking about what happened, got upset with his son, but cursed the son that Ham is going to have, which is Canaan. And to me, it was just like, the text don't say whether Canaan was already born or if Noah just was cursing next generations. And it's just like, God just blessed you and your family, and you turn around and you spill out curses towards your family and the next generations. But God is so good. He flipped that and told Abraham that he was going to bless him and the next generations and give them the promised land of Canaan. Like, what? Like, we can sit back and think one thing, and God is already working towards another thing. Like, Noah, what really made you that upset that you would curse the generations after your son? Like, it doesn't explain why he got so upset. It doesn't explain that. But Noah tried to curse the ground, and he didn't say the ground, but he said Ham's son. But this was just after God said that he wasn't going to curse the ground. And then God promises the land to the people of the same name that the guy that he just saved their whole family and named a land after him. A land that had giants in it that was supposed to destroy them. That David had faith enough with just a sling to destroy them. That's why I say a lot of this stuff is fake. But what I'm trying to get us, whoever listens, to understand is God has a distinction. He keeps reiterating his people. Even to the point where he's saying that he's grafted people into his sonship. So he's even thinking of people that he's not calling his people, but still calling him his people. Just to save them from what's a projected wickedness. I don't have, like I said last week, I don't got nothing to say to y'all. I don't. And I'm just going to end it here with this Bible verse that's at the end of this page, which says, "The Lord is faithful to all his promises and loving towards all he has made." And that's Psalms 145:13. Y'all go have a blessed week.